Hey guys, today I wanted to do a story time video for you. A few videos back I mentioned that I had a story back from when I used to be a scandalous little teenager, and I have experimented in the past with some drugs. So this is a story all about how I ate a brownie and thought I was dying. I want to make a disclaimer before I get into this video. I do not condone drug use. I think that weed is like the lowest level of drugs, but still I don't do it, and you'll find out why in this video. If you do, you, fine. It's legal in my state, so I totally understand. No judgment against anyone who smokes pot or eats edibles or whatever. I don't condone drug use, especially hard drugs, but I mean, like, if you do whatever. If you're young, don't do it. You guys get what I'm trying to say. I don't care what you do with your life, just be safe and you're gonna do what you're gonna do. This is most definitely not me promoting drug use, and you will hear that throughout the next few minutes when I explain to you what I'm about to say. I'm 29 years old, and in my teenage years, I experimented with drugs here and there. The first time I smoked pot, I was probably like 17, and I didn't feel anything. I felt completely normal. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just have a really high tolerance to this stuff. And then the second time I did it, I remember I was sitting with a group of people. I took a hit off the pipe or whatever, and I woke up on the floor screaming my lungs out. And I was saying, call 911, call 911, call 911. And I remember everybody around me was like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, calm down. And I remember just freaking the fuck out. I felt like, I don't even remember why I was yelling. Waking up screaming, I thought something bad must have happened. Turns out I was just really fucking high and did not know how. I had no chill, no chill. Everyone was making fun of me so bad. I was like, this is laced with PCP. I remember I was like convinced that somebody had laced it with heroin or PCP or something. And I remember thinking, this is not normal. And so everyone else that was around the party, and they were all stoned, they were all like, the fuck, bitch? And then they all started getting paranoid, and I made just the whole party completely paranoid. And I mean, I'm talking like I was screaming at the top of my lungs, like, I don't know why, but I just woke up screaming. And yeah, the next day and for the rest of eternity, I was pretty much that bitch. So fast forward, I hadn't done anything for a few years. I think I'm like 21 or 22 here. I know somebody, and she had made wheat butter. And I was like, oh, well, you know, she's like, oh, you can use it like in replacement of, you know, the oil, and you can make like brownies or cake or cookies or anything like that. And I was like, oh, that might be fun. I was like, but I can't handle weed because I'm like a lightweight or something's wrong with me. I can't handle it, so I know that I won't be able to do any, but have fun. She's like, no, just give it a try. And I'm like, okay. I remember she had made these little brownies out of it, and they were bite-sized, and I ate one, and I felt totally fine afterwards. I remember I kind of fell asleep. I was laughing, listening to music. I was like, dude, that was so chill. Every, you know, twice a week or something, I'd eat a little chunk of brownie, and she gave me a little baggie of them, and I was like, oh, these are good, you know, no issues at all. And so I thought, like, I'm totally good. Like, I am totally good to eat edibles. You know, I've got this. She gives me a brick of butter, and it is the color of this background, and it had been crock potted for like 2 days, so it was potent, to say the least. And I thought, you know, I'm just gonna make my own brownies at home. Why do I need to like get these little nub of ones from her? I'm taking her stuff. I was sitting there and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a pan of brownies tonight, and I'm gonna invite my friend over, and we're gonna eat some brownies. It's gonna be a great time. And so I did. I made the brownies, but I thought, you know, I'm gonna line the pan. You know, you like butter the pan. I buttered it with that weed butter. They always say to take half of the amount of weed butter and half the amount of regular oil or whatever, so that you're not overdoing it. Well, I did a full amount straight weed butter. And so the pan was lined and the inside was chocked full of it. Made the brownies, and I invited my friend over. We were sitting there, we hadn't hung out in a while. We were having a conversation, and she smoked often, but I did not. Again, I had had a couple of experiences with pot before that where I like totally freaked out and screamed at a party, so definite lightweight over here. We start eating the brownies, and we start with like a chunk that's, I would say like around this big. And I'm like eating it or whatever, and then the pan is sitting there next to us. And so I start getting hungry, and without even realizing it, because we're just having a conversation, I'm just eating more and more. And eventually I'd probably eaten a piece about that big. Now, that may not sound that bad because that's like the size of a typical brownie, right? Wrong. So we're sitting there talking, and I remember we were talking, and she was telling me a story about her life. And I remember that it was about an hour after we had started eating the brownies, and I remember even saying to her, I don't feel anything. And she was like, me either. And we were laughing, we were talking, and she started telling me a story. And I remember halfway through the story, I couldn't understand what she was saying. Like, the words were going into my ear, and then they were not in my ear anymore. I was like, wait, what are you saying? And she would repeat herself, and I'm like, I can't retain your words. And she's like laughing, and I'm like, no, this isn't fun. What are you saying to me? And she would repeat herself, and I could not retain. If you've ever smoked pot, or if you've ever done edibles, you'll know that that is common. It's like as if you have the shortest term memory ever. So I was sitting there, and she was talking to me, and I could hear her talking, and I could see her mouth moving, and I could hear the words that were coming out of her mouth. And even if I repeated them right after she said them, I don't remember the word I had just said. And it started freaking me the fuck out, man. I started getting so scared. I was sitting there, and I was like, dude, I don't have a clue what you're saying to me right now. She starts laughing, and then I'm sitting there on my couch, and I look over, and the room is like enormous. Like it is as if I am a tiny speck of human in the vast universe of living room. And the refrigerator was buzzing, and it was buzzing so loudly. And I just looked at her, and I was like, you gotta get the fuck out of my house. And she was like, what? Mind you, I lived about an hour from her. She drove an hour to my house to like come do this. I like lived in the middle of the woods. It was like all chill and good time. I was like, you gotta go. She was like, you're gonna make me leave? I'm like, get out! I made her get out. We're still friends to this day. I was like, you need to get the fuck out of my house. I was freaking out. I could not handle her talking around me. I couldn't retain her words. The living room was huge. The fridge was so loud. And I was like, you gotta go. And she's like, oh, okay, well, bye. And I'm like, bye! And I went and I sat back down on the couch, and I was like, you need to calm the fuck down, man. You need to calm down. I sat on that couch for what felt like 14 hours, contemplating how I was gonna die. This is it. This is how I die. I ran into the bedroom, and I ran in there, and I was like, Zach was sleeping, by the way, because he had to work the next day. And I was like, Zach, I'm dying. And he's like, babe, you're not dying. You just ate a weed brownie. Like, I was there for it. You're fine. And I was like, I'm dead. And he's like, babe, calm down. You cannot die from that. I was like, I am dead. I'm dying. I'm dead. I hop on Google, and I'm Googling THC overdose, weed overdose, brownie overdose. And I was so afraid that I 1000% was dying, because it felt like this ain't right. Something the fuck's going on, and I don't know what is happening right now. So like, you know what? I'm just gonna sleep it off. So I laid down. I don't know why I'm like this. I laid down, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna sleep this shit off, and hopefully I don't die in my sleep. And I was laying there, and I was breathing, but what's weird is I couldn't feel the air going in and out of my lungs. Like that's like the sensation gone. I don't know where it went. I could not feel the air going in and out of my lungs. It was the scariest feeling. And so I kept, I'm dying. And I'd wake Zach up, I'm dying. I'm stopping breathing in my sleep. He's like, oh my God, you're fucking fine. And I'm like, I'm not. And I was crying, and I was on the floor, and I was throwing up, and I felt like I was going to die. And that shit lasted 12 hours. I was literally so high out of my mind for what felt like an eternity. Each minute that you're high feels like an hour. I was absolutely out of my mind. I literally thought I was going to die. You couldn't have convinced me otherwise. I was 1 second away from calling 911. That first time when I was screaming on the floor, I was running for the phone. They had to stop me from calling 911. I was positive I was dying. And this is why when people are like, smoke, smoke, it really helps take away anxiety. It helps with all. Fuck that. It literally made me so anxious. It made me feel like the world was coming to an end. Everyone's looking at me. I was alone. I was in this giant chasm of a room filled with anxiety and fear. The refrigerator was screaming in my ear. I couldn't breathe. By the way, if you really were an outsider looking in at the freak out I was actually having, you probably would have just seen a person sitting on the couch. This is all internal. I'm just sitting there like, probably for like 8 hours. I just sat there like internally feeling like I was dying. And I have recollection of just how horrified I felt. And I remember in that moment saying like, never do this again. You can never put an ounce of that in your mouth again. Never, nothing. And so I still haven't to this day. It has been 8 years. I'm a full grown adult. It's completely legal in my state. Weed is totally legal. And I can't do it. I cannot do it. I cannot even think of that feeling and wanting to ever experience that. And you always get the people that are like, no, you need to smoke indica, not sativa, I don't know what the fuck any of that means, by the way. This is all gibberish to me. I don't care what you say. I'm never feeling that shit again. No. Let me know if you guys ever had a similar experience, if you thought you were gonna die. Also, if you've never done it, highly don't suggest it. I don't think it's fun. Some people think it's fun. I had a horrible time. Every single time I've had a horrible time. I have never once smoked or eaten, other than those tiny little nuggets of brownies, which at that point is just a waste of your time. Any other time, never had fun. People are like, it calms me down. Opposite. This should not make you want to try it. I'm telling you right now, one of the scariest feelings I've ever felt in my life was that night. And it's all in here. That's what's so crazy, is that it literally just does something to your brain that makes you so fearful. There was no fun in it for me. Like, I wasn't like having a good time, but also like slightly paranoid. No, 100% paranoia, 100% fear of death. Zero fun. All right, guys, I hope you guys like this story time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do. I post new videos all the time. Also, you can follow me on all my other social media stuff. It's all Raw Beauty Christy. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you at my next video. Bye!